Welcome back to Boiler House Garage. Today you join me on a potentially very wet and windy morning. I'm en route, well not en route actually, I'm parked up because I'm running a bit early, but in this video I'm going to be servicing a tranny. No, not that kind. This is a 2010 Mark 7 Ford Transit. It's the 2.2 litre, which is indicative of it being front wheel drive. It's a transverse fitted engine. If you're doing the rear wheel drive ones, which are sort of more typical on tipper trucks and car transporters, things like that, obviously the engine will be inline and they're all 2.4 litre, but they're quite similar in their design. Not sure about the part numbers for filters and such, but hopefully this video will still be a good guide for that. Something worth mentioning is the fuel filters, because they're quite a substantial size. Obviously on a diesel you don't want to be causing any airlocks because you'll have a right job trying to get the thing started again. So on the way down here I stopped off at Esso just to pick up a gallon of diesel, which yeah, basically I'm going to refill the fuel filter before the new one before I refit it, and then I'll just pop the rest in his tank. So yeah, and obviously charge for it that way. And I did notice Esso were doing they do a Supreme diesel now, because previously I was only aware of, because I've only run one diesel car in my life, and I haven't had that for some time now. But the only diesel Supreme or super diesels, then let's call them, were available from Shell as a Shell V-power diesel, and also a BP Ultimate diesel. And yeah, I wasn't aware of any other sort of higher spec diesels available, but Esso do one now. I don't know how long they've been doing this for, but it's not something I could test really anyway. I was looking to get a something that I could actually use to see how much like biodiesel they're mixed with, because they all say B7 on there, which is to mean that it's got 7% biodiesel mixed in with the diesel, and that's on all of the pumps and all of the brands. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's not like the ethanol in super unleaded and standard unleaded petrols. It's not an easy method of testing. So yeah, I haven't done that as yet, but that could be something potentially in the future. But anyway, back onto the Transit. The customer's basically after, he's picked it up for a good price. It looks like it hasn't been serviced for a really long time, so it's just going to be a case of changing the oil, obviously, air filter. The kit I got's got a new Sump plug in it. The yeah, fuel filter, like I mentioned, it's got the brake fluid. When I went to look at it, it's a little bit stinky, so I'm going to change that. And the customer did mention the belts, but I only had a quick glance at the van, and when I come back to look at parts, there's several different belt types available, and some of them are stretch type, others are use a tensioner, which you have to replace as well, and they also seem to be really expensive. It's two belts, one for the alternator, one for power steering, I assume, and the yeah, one's like 25 quid, the other's like 35 quid best prices, and nobody seems to do a kit of them or anything anyway. So yeah, I thought because they're expensive, I thought I'd just yeah, leave that to the customer to decide. If he does still want them changed, that I'll nip off to a Motor Factors today to get some, just add that to the bill. Or if not, I mean, if they're in good condition anyway, because of the price of them, it's probably not worth changing until they're visibly looking deteriorated. And also there's a bit of an oil leak. There's a bit of mayonnaise-y looking stuff in the oil filler cap, which straight away you panic and think, oh, head gasket. But I mean, it can potentially be condensation, because water can get into your engine in other ways. The coolant level is a little low as well, so it's starting to add up the clues, and that's a head gasket failure. But the coolant looks really clean for a vehicle that hasn't been serviced for a while. But I've obviously got some with me. I'll just top that up for him. And there's oil leak, but again, that seems to be coming from the filler neck. It's got like a plastic extension filler neck, because the engine's sat quite far down from where you can access it from the bonnet. And I think there's a leak coming from there more than along the head anywhere. So yeah, we'll take a closer look at that anyway, because the top of the engine on this Transit engine is a well, top of the engine bay, should I say, is a plastic air box. So you can change your air filter there easy enough, but if you take the whole thing off, then you can get access to the top of the engine from underneath it. So we'll have a closer look when we get there. But yeah, well, I'm due there in about 10 minutes, so I might as well head over and I've got to try and find the place again anyway. I'll see you over there. Say thanks. He's on his phone. This is it. Whoop. So here it is, and the customer's left the key out for me where he said he would, so let's get cracking. It's going to piss down later, I'll just check the mileage. What's that? 183,483. Just, it was a bit stuck, it just needed two hands, and then you go that way to lift it up. Just left a load of tools under it. Yeah, this is a little leak coming from there, I think, from this filler neck. Yeah, of course it's leaking all over the alternator. Let's see what type of belts these are, can I tell from here? I think they're the stretch belt type because I can't see a tensioner on there, which will be on the back of it. Yeah, I mean, they don't look bad, but they don't look new either. So yeah, we'll see what we can do there. This is the air filter access, that's quite easy of course. Yeah, obviously it's filthy, but the customer did say they actually opened this up and hoovered all of the crap out of it, but of course it does still need a new filter. And there's the coolant level that I noticed when I first saw this van below the minimum now. And then there's a little bit of mayonnaise, but it's it doesn't always mean there's a problem with your head gasket. It could just mean there's water in your engine. Yeah, it's on max, but it's a bit dark and dirty. I didn't even look at the power steering fluid last time, but yeah, it's obviously old and burnt smelling. That I have bought some power. I do have power steering fluid with me, but I haven't sort of quoted for that on the invoice to change that today. But yeah, sometimes it's worth just doing a good service. But before you go too mad with some things, it's got to pass an MOT yet. Drive the van, see if you're going to have any major problems, to see if it's worth spending the money on to keep it. To change all the fluids and those belts is a bit pricey and that, because they're still going to function at the moment. So yeah, get it through the MOT, see that it's going to be a reliable workhorse, and then sort of go from there. There's a fuel filter right at the back, so that looks ancient of course. Hasn't got one of those. Where is it? It's a bit easier for me. There's normally something that's a little sensor on the bottom that detects if water has got into, because normally do get a little bit in the system, and yeah, the water will sink to the bottom of the fuel filter here, and then a little sensor clips onto here to normally put a light on the dash just to say you've got water to drain out of your fuel system, but doesn't look like it's got one on here. Oh, here's some. I don't know how far this was out before I actually took the airbox offload, but I was about to reconnect it to start the engine to warm it up, because first thing I want to do is drain the oil really. If you look at the back there, look, looks like a bird's been nesting in it, but yeah, the back of the air intake. I mean, that goes straight into the turbo, and you can see there's some oil coming out of it as well. So that's not in the best of conditions, but you know, I'll pop that back in and then get some gloves on as well. So something else I've noticed, these are stretch type belts. So unless you're clever with some like plastic tools, that you can get special tools to take them on and off, and you just turn the pulleys around. But as you've probably noticed here, the front of this pulley's smashed off, so it's a good job we're not replacing these belts now, because obviously this pulley will need replacing, and then ideally with a fresh belt, because this could actually damage it. But I'll take a photo of this to show the customer. Yeah, it's got quite a big leak for something coming under the. I can't believe that's all coming from that filler neck. Additionally, there's you see these screw hole here, screw hole there. There's actually supposed to be a protective cover that goes over these belts to stop things like this happening, and of course that's missing. There's less to remove, obviously, when it does come to changing those belts. Spanner to hold on to like this hexagonal extension thing. It's one of the bolts at the back of the airbox is held on by. It's quite easy to get to though. So the bottom of the airbox is attached. You've got two bushes which just pull in and out. You've got the bolt at the front here, bolt on this corner, bolt on that corner. That's the one that you need to hold the 14mm on the bottom of it, because you'll see there's like a bar extension or whatever you call it, hexagonal shaped one. And there's breather pipes are held back here, and of course the air intake from the grill goes into there, and then it's out. Then you can clean it up and inspect under your engine. Yeah, so we've got a bit messy, but then it is a van that's done 183,000 miles, so things like this you can sort of live with. Yeah, so that turbo intake air in, I'll have to get a new Jubilee clip on if I've got one, if not try and reuse that. So this oil filler here, that's got a slightly cross-threaded looking Torx. That's a T27, fits the oil filler tube thingy. So this does have a seal on it, but it's not broken. Can't really see where it's leaking from. So the UFI part number for this is 30333200. There's two types of oil filters for these engines. There's the cartridge type and the spin-on type. This one does use the cartridge type. I'll show you how it is underneath in a sec. But the part numbers I've been given for UFI, I've got a filter of each just in case. It's 2506000 and 2358400 for the spin-on. That's the cartridge one. Right, so hopefully you can hear me over the noise of the engine, but this is where the oil filter goes, and very close obviously is the Sump's drain plug here. I've been given a new sump plug for it. It's 13mm sump plug to remove and obviously the replacement. This oil filter housing is 27 millimeters. Or is it? Yeah, I think just some crud on there. So you have to, yeah, you can keep your oil drain pan in the same place, because you can drain the oil from here and then just slightly ahead of it undo the oil filter, take that out, swap over the cartridge, and that's what we're doing next once the oil's warm. Right, so just trying to keep as much as I can out of the rain. It's pissing down now, so I'll keep the tools out. But, yeah, there's the filter cartridge replacement and seal. If you're watching this as a bit of a how-to, it's not going to be very comprehensive because of the weather and my time constraints. But yeah, you need to take this seal off, swap it over for the new one, and just pop the new cartridge in this housing. Whilst the oil's just draining out now, so I can get the new sump plug in. These are handy for these little pick things, but you can use a small flathead screwdriver or pretty much anything just to pull these old seals off. When you put the new seal on, just give it a light little smear of fresh oil, and that just to make sure it seats properly, because dry rubber can sort of bind a bit. Yeah, then we'll pop that in. Right, so that's the new filter installed, new sump plug in place. That's the gecky old oil all out of here, and I am absolutely soaking wet. It's pisculating it down, and my tools are going to get soaked and rusty as well, like the last batch, but well, what can you do? I also need to take a slash as well, so find somewhere over there. I won't film that, of course. But while it's absolutely hammering it down out there, hopefully it'll ease off a bit, because I need to do the fuel filter. I don't really want to get any, I doubt any rainwater will get that far back in the engine, but when I work out in the rain, sometimes the rain builds up inside the car, and you can get things like your headlamp bulbs blowing and stuff, well, on older cars anyway, but yeah, so I don't want to risk it. Well, I'll probably just get an umbrella out or something and just try and work fast, but I was hopefully going to record as much as I can, and that just for the channel. Yeah, I've also got to do the brake fluid change as well, but I've got a machine I can do that to suck it all out. Yeah, while I'm in here, I'll do the service light reset, because obviously this thing hasn't been serviced for a while. So if you put, what's that racket? So yeah, you get your service oil now warning. I'll turn that back off again so we know where we are. Yeah, so keys back, ignition off, so you basically put it onto the where you're getting the ignition on, and then you press the accelerator and brake down together. Oh, these brakes feel terrible. And then I think you just hold them both down and wait. Service oil reset complete. Let go of the pedals. It's a bit dodgy doing this because I don't actually have any oil in the engine at the moment, but I'll yeah, obviously not crank the engine over yet. That's the service light reset complete. Well, it looks like the rain's only going to get worse today, so yeah, I'll have to crack on. Hopefully this will work. Oh, that's quite cosy. Right, so the oil we're using is the same stuff I run in the Fiesta ST. It's the Ford spec Castrol GTX Magnatech, or just Castrol Magnatech I think they call it now. It's a 5W30, there's no eco gibberish on this one as well, which is good. The oil capacity for this Transit 2.2 litre is 6.2 litres of oil, including the oil filter capacity. I've ordered two 5-litre bottles, so 10 litres in total, because it's just as it's more cost effective because you get more oil for your money than ordering a 5-litre with 2-litre bottles on the side, because when you buy the litre bottles they're more expensive. Plus, as this has got some oil leak issues, I'll be charging the customer for the 10 litres, but the remaining 3.8 litres of oil he'll have as a top up, and that's just so yeah, you can keep it topped up with the same stuff, and then go from there to see if there's any other issues or if the oil leaks get worse. Right, let's get it filled up. Right, so the next job on here is the fuel filter, which I showed you earlier. With this out of the way, you've got a little bit more access, but because I'm a little pressed for time, it'd be easier for you to see. But right, so this is an ATY. Is that the full part number? It's 01040900006. Assuming that is the part number. That's the one. There we go. So instructions are probably fairly simple. We'll just unscrew, take it down, put up, and screw back on. But I'm going to fill this with diesel just so I don't create an airlock. So looking at the old one, I'll zoom right in there, aren't I? You got these little lugs sticking out here. You got a 1 and a 2, and on the back there's a big one. It looks like its starting position is with this one at the front, or close to it anyway. Alright, so my phone battery just died then, unfortunately, but luckily I do have the Noco boost with me, so I've just got that connected through a USB cable, but I'm afraid this already poor quality video is going to get even worse. So I had a bit of difficulty with the fuel filter here, because the old one, you've got the unlock and lock tabs, so on here you probably, let's see if I can, I haven't got enough charge for the light, but on that plastic hat, there you go. You do have a locked and unlocked symbol, so the idea is you get the unlock line lined up with the unlock symbol on the plastic collar there. The Mark 6 Transits actually do have a proper collar, and what you do is you undo the collar, pull the collar down, and then the filter cartridge comes out. This is different, which is a bit of a pain in the backside. I think this is a Euro 5 engine which has this type, and then the later Euro 6 versions of this engine has a cartridge type filter, so there's no metal tin. You actually take it out of the housing and flip the paper filters over. with these cartridge ones then, the new filter where I sort of struggled is because it doesn't have any it doesn't have the locking marks on there, and the instructions, as you can see on here, it's probably easier for me to explain. So yeah, you line up the unlocks together, which means it's unlocked so you can pull it down like this. When you put the new one in, obviously you have the unlocks lined up, and then you turn it all the way until it, well, I say all the way, it's probably about a third of a turn, until the two padlocks are lined up. Without the symbols on there, I've basically just had to, like I said at the start here, I don't know if that actually recorded on the phone before the battery died, but I just used this little single lug next to the two as a guide, and I just had that facing the front, and then that way you're where the padlock isn't, the symbol isn't on the new filter, that will actually line up, and the cartridge does seat all the way home, so you have to lift it up quite hard with a bit of force and that to get it seated properly. And then I noticed that the new filter's seal in here was starting to push away, so I've had to line that back up. So yeah, not exactly brilliant quality, these ATY or whatever they're called filters, but yeah, so I've turned it as best as I can to the right, but of course there's no padlocks symbols to line up on the right now. So, and it does show you on here, look, that there's this ear on there to hear it click into place, which I haven't yet. So I'm going to give the thing a damn good wipe down, try and wash my hands the best I can, and forcefully turn it to the right as far as I can. If I do hear a click, great, but then yeah, if it can't go any further, it's obviously in place. Yeah, so it did have a little bit more turn to it, but it doesn't even look straight, does it? Or does it? But yeah, that's definitely in, so yeah, there's only one way to find out. I imagine half the diesel's bloody spilt out now, so yeah, that'll do. Yeah, I'll turn the ignition over a couple of times just to see if it'll help prime the fuel down there, and then crank it up. Obviously the hasn't been started since I've changed the oil, so that'll help fill up the oil filter as well. I need to let it run for a bit just so I can top the level off, and then at least then the oil change complete. Make sure we haven't got any diesel pissing out of here. Then the last couple of things, yeah, I just need to do a quick fluid top off, screen wash, change the brake fluid, and then it's the job's done. Well, she fired straight up with no delay for fuel getting through, so yeah, luckily I haven't created an airlock or anything. Well, I'm soaked, covered in mud and oil and diesel, but that's that van done for today. Anyway, I did get to speak to the customer. He's going to, well, he wants the broken pulley replaced, and I think he wants the belts done. It probably makes sense, and they are the stretch belt type on this anyway, so at least I know what to order if he does. The brake fluid change I couldn't actually do in the end, because the pump I use runs off of the 12-volt battery. I can either use the one in the van itself. I think the transit one's actually behind the driver's seat, so that'd be a bit of a stretch, but sometimes I'll have the bonnet on my car open and I could just use the battery there to run the pump, but I can't get the car in close because it's all in a fenced off compound here, and plus I don't want my own bonnet open in the while it's pissing with rain. So I can come back and do that at a later time, and hopefully if the weather's better I'll be able to do a bit of I'll be able to do a better video on it. So sorry this one's a bit chopped about. My phone battery obviously died part way through, and it's just been constantly raining, so yeah, a bit of a shit day really, and all of that for about 50 quid, plus the parts of course. Yeah, so a lot of my tools and equipment have got soaked as well, so I'll have to get them straight in and dried off when I get back, because yeah, even stainless steel stuff can go rusty, and got all the filthy filters and all the oil containers and that to dispose of as well when I get back. The total bill on that so far, that's not including if I come back to do the belts and the pulley and such, but it's 147.92 I think it was, and I make about £50 of that in my labour rate, so yeah, it doesn't seem worth it today. But yeah, on to the next one. So that brings us to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks ever so much for watching.